Asimov Sorensen, the main antagonist of Asteroid Blues, is someone kind of similar to Spike. They both used to work for a crime syndicate and they both ran away from them. Unlike Spike, Asimov managed to bring his sweetheart Katrina with him, but Julia didn't show up that day, so Spike had to run away on his own. Another difference between these two characters is the fact that Spike tried to guarantee his and Julia's safety by faking his death, so the syndicate wouldn't come after them. But Asimov stole bloody-eyed drugs from his mafia and put himself and Katrina in a lot of danger. They were constantly being followed by syndicate agents and they weren't safe. In the beginning of the episode, Jet tells Spike about Asimov and tells him that he used to be a syndicate member and that he ran away. And Spike refuses to go after him, saying he's just a small fry, but perhaps that's just an excuse. Maybe Spike senses some similarities between himself and Asimov and subconsciously wants to stay away from anything similar to his past life. Or maybe he's just being lazy. Anyway, the fact remains that he is pretty hungry, so he agrees to go to Tijuana. On Tijuana, he encounters Asimov and Katrina, and has a little conversation with Katrina next to the swordfish. He feels kind of sympathetic towards her. She's pregnant and is on the run with a criminal. He tells her,
"Planning to escape to Mars, huh? Go ahead and run. How far do you think you'll get?"
which is understandable because of his bitter experience regarding running away. Katrina finds out that Spike is a cowboy, and for the second time in the episode he says Asimov is just a small fry, and this time I believe it definitely is an excuse, because he wants to let them escape. He feels sorry for Katrina and he knows what it's like to have a dream of running away and living a peaceful life. But I guess none of that is a good enough reason to turn your back on 2.5 million, so I believe the real reason is that he sees Julia in Katrina. Spike is attacked from behind and is knocked out by Asimov. When he wakes up, Jet tells him a little more about his identity, and only after hearing the story and realizing what kind of person Asimov is, he decides to show Jet the bloody eye he stole from him and to go after them, because he wants to rescue Katrina from the terrible future that awaits her. He looks at Asimov and he sees a dangerous man that could get her killed. Asimov is like Spike before he decided to leave the Mafia, before he met Julia. And he knows that Spike better than anyone, that Spike is incomplete, he's not capable of protecting his Julia. In episode 25, Spike describes Julia as a piece of him that was missing, a piece he was longing for. And that's not the case with Asimov and Katrina. Because of Julia, Spike developed as a person and desired a life of peace outside the syndicate. But Asimov never went through that development, and the reason behind his escape was just plain greed. And that greed would haunt him and Katrina forever, in the shape of drugs and syndicate agents. That's what Spike wants to rescue Katrina from. He blames and hates himself for not being able to rescue Julia 3 years ago, and feels like helping Katrina will give him some closure, and in a strange way, it would be like he was helping Julia. He catches up with them and attacks Asimov in one of the best fight scenes in all of Cowboy Bebop. They get away and Spike stops the agents shooting at them, which again proves that he does intend to rescue Katrina. He follows them and shoots down the 2 spaceships chasing them, and during his final attempts, the unexpected happens. In this scene, Katrina sees that there's no escape. She sees what a terrible plan all of this was. She finds out what I mentioned earlier in the video by looking at Asimov's face, that even if they did manage to escape, Asimov's greed would forever haunt them. So she decides to end all of it, there and then. She kills Asimov and it's revealed she wasn't even pregnant and was actually stashing all the drugs in her clothes. Spike looks at them, completely shocked. He tried to rescue Katrina because she seemed helpless and reminded him of Julia, but now he knows she wasn't the innocent helpless victim he thought she was. She was nothing like his Julia. Or maybe she was. At this point in the story, Spike doesn't know why Julia didn't show up that day. Could the same fate be awaiting him if they ran away together? Would Julia kill him when things got rough, just like how Katrina killed Asimov? He doesn't know. The image of their perfect future together is now shattered. Laughing Bull told him that he shall meet a woman, and that he shall be targeted by that woman, and then death. To which he replied, "I've been killed by a woman once before." The first time is him escaping without Julia and, as he puts it in episode 5, entering a dream he would never wake up from. And the second time is him witnessing his projection of Julia being shattered in the shape of Katrina. After this incident, Spike develops some trust issues that we see traces of in the second episode, Stray Dog Strut. But we'll talk about that in the next video. If you remember, at the beginning we see Spike training next to the kitchen, and when the food is ready and Jet calls him, he immediately joins. But at the end and after the events of Asteroid Blues, he decides to distance himself from Jet, at least for a while. It's understandable that he would have a little problem trusting people, so he's training far away from the kitchen and can't hear Jet when dinner's ready. Now, there's a part of this episode that I left out. The part before the opening titles. We see some segments of Spike's past that I wanted to talk about at the end of the video. It's where he faked his death. We see a colorless rose and we see Spike shooting people and getting shot. And the more he bleeds, the redder the rose gets, as if he's coloring it with his blood. That rose, I believe, symbolizes Spike's death, the same death the Laughing Bull was talking about. It's like he left a part of himself behind in that rose in that alley, like a part of him is stuck in it. Perhaps the same part of him that was missing and he was longing for. Maybe the rose symbolizes Julia too, and Spike's leaving that rose behind along with her. In one of these segments we see blood trickling down Spike's face. More specifically, it's trickling down the left side of his face. And as we can see in the show, he doesn't have a scar anywhere on his head, which means that this blood is coming out of his left eye. Spike mentions having a fake eye multiple times throughout the show, and this scene indicates that this was the accident where he lost his eye and that the left one is the fake one. And that's it. I've been wanting to do a Cowboy Bebop analysis series for a couple of months now, so I'm pretty thrilled. And I guess until the next video I'll just